Call the meeting to order. Welcome, everybody. This meeting is being live streamed and is available on the Township's YouTube page. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda, please? Councillor Woodcock, Councillor McDonald, all in favor? Thank you. Any declarations of pecuniary interest? None noted. Before we get into the regular part of the meeting, we have a public meeting this evening regarding an application to permanently close and convey an unopened road allowance, file number RC04-2022, in accordance with Section 34 of the Municipal Act as amended and the Township's public notice policy. Notice is hereby provided that the Council of the Corporation of Township of Stone Mills has received a request from abutting landowners to close and convey an unopened municipal road allowance, being Part 6, 10, and 11 on Plan 29R 11577, being part of the road allowance between lots 20 and 21, a portion of which is included with this notice. Council shall hear in person or by his or her counsel, solicitor, or agent any person who claims to be affected by this application. And as I see no one from the public here this evening, I guess other than a written comment, there is no public input unless someone comes in at the last minute. Our recommendation is that the Council receive the report and that Council enact a bylaw to stop up, close, and convey the portion of the unopened, unmaintained road allowance identified as mentioned, and the Mayor and Clerk be authorized to sign and seal. We have a planning report this evening prepared by Holly Newitt of FO10 Planning, our consultant, and presented by Brittany Mulhern, also a consultant with FO10 Planning. Brittany, do you wish to speak to this report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If you'd like, I can provide an overview of the staff report and the recommendation.
Yes, by all means.
Thank you. The purpose of this request is for Council to close and convey a portion of the unopened road allowance adjacent to Mark Stevenson's property on County Road 15 and Sheffield Lake. The portion of the road allowance proposed to be closed is adjacent to the applicant's 39-hectare parcel, which is the subject of 2 provisionally approved severances for lot creation. The closure of the unopened road allowance and its subsequent conveyance to the applicant is required to permit access to those provisionally approved retained and severed lands via the existing driveway, as a new entrance along County Road 15 cannot be supported as a result of the topography of the site. Staff have reviewed, the consultant staff, I should say, have reviewed this request and note there are no negative impacts to the surrounding properties or neighborhood. The application has regard for the Municipal Act, is consistent with the provincial planning statement, and ultimately conforms with the Township's official plan. The process has also followed the municipal road allowance closing policies and procedures of the Township as well. And as a result, we recommend that the bylaw be approved to close and convey the road allowance. And I'm also available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Brittany on this file? I see we did have one objection or concern from a neighbor who seemed to think that his property actually bounded this road allowance. Is he satisfied now that that is not the case?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I do not believe that the neighbor is satisfied with the response that was provided. There was a second concern over the road allowance closure. At this time, we have reviewed the concern and maintain our recommendation that the road allowance closure proceed. But it is my understanding that the neighbor who's objecting remains objecting. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments or concerns, Council? I didn't get a motion for this. In that case, can I get a motion to approve the recommendation? Deputy Mayor Davidson and Councillor Milligan. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, anyone sign up for open forum? I guess not, because there's no one here. Under presentations, we have the Lumex Group, Terry Gervais, to present the fire master plan that Lumex Group has been preparing for some time. And Terry, did you want to come up to the desk there and press the silver button, which should activate the microphone? And the floor is yours as soon as you're ready.
And thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council, for allowing us some time tonight to talk about your, excuse me, your fire master plan. Before we get started, I'd like to let council know that doing this plan has been one of the best ones that we've done. The support that we got from your fire services, from the chief and the deputy chief and the members of your department. We did stakeholder engagement sessions with all the stations. They were very receptive to suggestions that we made. They were very receptive into providing us data. And if anybody's ever gone through one of these processes, it's not an easy thing for them to do because there's a lot of data. So it took up a considerable amount of time, and I'd like to thank them for doing that. And the result of it is the document you're going to see in front of you, we'll just talk a little bit about tonight. What I would like council to understand is that this document is not meant to be a report card of your department. You have a very good department. It's your volunteer service is very strong. It's managed well with the chief and the deputy chief. What we are trying to do is give you that vision for the next 10 years. What's the strategic goals look like? So as everybody knows, the municipal world and in the fire world especially has changed a lot in the last several years. So it's going to continue to evolve and change. And what we're trying to do is to give you kind of that roadmap so that you stay up to the level of service that you're providing currently to your public. So next slide, please, James. You can go right through. Thank you. So we use some guiding principles at the Lumix Group, and then so these are the kind of 5 guiding principles that we use. One of them is we look at the best possible fire protection services for the safety of the firefighters. That's really important to us, is that your firefighters are protected. And when we look at documents, especially when we get into looking at protective gear and health and safety, it's important that the safety of the firefighters is paramount. We also look at the best fire protection services for the safety of the residents and your businesses and the people, the visitors that travel through your community. We also look at what's the most cost-effective fire protection services. We all know that it's very expensive these days for most municipal departments, but the fire services, you know, also is the same. Cost of vehicles have gone up. You know, the chief and I were talking this afternoon about the cost of fuel going up, and that's a big impact on municipalities. What fire protection service will help Stone Mills avoid unnecessary costs for the future? So again, trying to be a strategic document, how can you avoid big costs down the road, or at least predict of the costs coming down? And let the facts guide our decisions and recommendations. So the recommendations that we put in here are built on quantifiable facts. So we looked at a lot of your historical data. We did mapping on your stations to look at where they're reaching in certain amounts of time. We did an interactive map that we provided the chief and the deputies so they could see where you've got your stations placed currently. Are they providing the coverage that you should get for your residents evenly across the municipality? Next slide, please, James. We also look at the 3 lines of defense that are recognized in the province of Ontario, and that's public education, code enforcement, and fire suppression. So every one of these are very important, these 3 lines of defense. You can't provide fire protection services or life services to your community without having all 3 of these. So yeah, you can go heavy in public education, code enforcement, that's important, but you can't not do without fire suppression because fires still happen. So they all intertwine, but we review those 3 lines of defense as we work through our recommendations. Next slide, please. This was our approach. We did a startup meeting and we did a lot of stakeholder engagement sessions. Like I said, we talked to all the stations, of course, the management team for the service, the CAO, the councillors and the mayor that chose to sit with our writers. We talked with them as well. A lot of data collection. Like we said, we drove probably the chief and the deputy crazy with getting the data that we needed, your historical data. Because to build your service going forward, you need to know where you're at today. So what can you do, or what have you been able to do the last 5 years, and that you can either enhance the service going forward or maintain the service. We presented a final or a draft to the department and the CAO. We met, went through comments in the draft, and then we provided a final report, which council has in front of them tonight. The areas of review, I mean, this is a broad look at kind of we looked at everything right from your bylaws, right through to the water supply, to your asset management programs, your prevention programs. We looked at health and safety. So there's quite a list there, but we really took a real good deep dive into the service that the municipality has right now from the fire department. Next slide, please, G. So again, I started, but I'd like to just reiterate, we'd like to thank everybody for providing input. It's hard to write fire master plans if the municipality and the chief and the management team and the firefighters don't participate. And everybody did, and everybody was very open, very honest, and had a pretty dedicated vision of where that should go in the future. So just some of the strengths. You know, the department is really well resourced in fleet and equipment program, and that's really important. They have a strong volunteer presence. They have a well-maintained mutual aid and automatic aid agreements, and that's really important. There's a lot of municipalities we go into is they try to do everything on their own, and they don't share services or look at their neighbors and create automatic aid or mutual aid agreements. So this area particularly, you know, they have a lot of good agreements with all your neighbors around. So one other area in here that we didn't put in, but I would like to mention, is the training. Everybody knows about the certification that's coming in 2026. So this summer, your department is well served and well set up for the 2026 certification. So the training house that you have that's been sort of supported by council, and the dedication of both the management team and the firefighters and the officers of dedicating to that training spot, and committed to doing training. So your certification, you're going to be good for the first part. We have a couple of recommendations for the second part, which is 2028 coming down, but right now you're in good shape in the training, and that's a lot of credit to the chief and the deputy chief. Some of the challenges, and this, you know, these challenges, I don't want council going around thinking that they're unique with these, but in the volunteer system, some of the challenges that we're fighting across the province is the low response numbers during daytime hours. And there's lots of reasons for that, and it just seems to be a trend that's happening in the volunteer services. And another challenge is requiring more qualified drivers in the DSED program. The DSED program is a lot different these days than it used to be. It's fairly cumbersome and labor intensive to get the members of the department up into their DSEDs. And Stone Mills has a limited number of staff that can perform the prevention, education, and pre-planning. So, like I said, one of those key pillars of the 3 lines of defense was public education. So that's important. So there's 61 recommendations in this report. And you know, it might seem like a lot, but when you really dissect the recommendations, there's a lot of administrative type of recommendations. Since we started this process, the department has started working on some of the recommendations and are almost completed some of them. And even when we started, they were starting to work towards some of this stuff as well. So, I don't want council leaving and say, holy jumpins, there's a lot of recommendations for this report. But, you know, when you really get down and look at them, a lot of it's kind of the administrative piece that needs to be supported. They're designed to provide the safety for the residents and the firefighters. The recommendations are all within your means to implement and include ways that Stone Mills to act cost effectively whenever possible. And overall, the Fire Master Plan outlines strategies and resources that will help council and the department provide an appropriate level of service to the community now and in coming years. And that's at whatever level of service council chooses, because that's council's role is to set the level of service for the community. Next slide. Thank you. Just wait. Okay, that's fine. So So we weren't going to go through all 61 recommendations. Council would, you'd be probably half asleep by the time we got to recommendation 30, you know. So, but I wanted to pick a couple of the key themes out of here and just talk briefly about them. And certainly at the end, Mr. Mayor, I mean, any questions certainly entertained. So the next one, slide please. Thanks, Jane. So this one's for council, this recommendation. We all know that you have a municipal election this year, and some of you may be here and some of you may not. There may be new people. I don't know how your makeup's going to be next year. But one of the recommendations is that after the next election, the CEO usually gets together a kind of an orientation for council in most municipalities. There's a really good seminar that the OFM puts on for council to talk to them about their legislative requirements and their roles within the Act for the firefighters, so the Fire Prevention and Protection Act. So this recommendation is for council. So after the new election, at some point early in the term, is either take get the OFM to come in or have a third party come in and really talk to council about what their roles are within the Act and with the fire services. Because there is some very distinct legislative requirements for the chief. There's some legislative requirements for the municipality and some legislative requirements for council as well too. Thank you. So there's a number of recommendations in the bylaws section, but the two I want to key in is I talked about the certification for 2028. So again, you're well ahead of a lot of departments to meet the 2026 certification. But coming on 2028, it's going to be the specialized services they're going to start looking at. So the hazmat stuff, the water ice rescue in your case, common passenger vehicle rescue, which is auto extrication, and heavy vehicle extrication. So these two recommendations really talk about is for the department to now start working to make sure they're ready to meet the 2028 certification in these two disciplines. So you don't have to have all the disciplines. If you're only doing awareness training with some of the, like confined space, for example, that's all you need is awareness training. But these two disciplines you're actually doing. So you need to have the training and the certification in order to provide those services. So that's what recommendation 4.3 and 4.4 are talking. And it's really a proactive recommendation is to make sure that you're getting geared up for the 2028 certification. Recruitment and retention, there's not a municipality, there's not a municipality that we go to that we don't talk about recruitment and retention. Again, it's not unique to Stone Mills. It's a challenge in volunteer services across our country, as a matter of fact. So one of the things that we've been really promoting or trying to talk to departments and councils about is trying to find a good retention plan. Recruitment's sometimes not too bad. We can get people in, but it's retaining those good people. It's the people so they're staying a long time. They're lasting the 15 and 20 years if you can, because that's your knowledge base. You spend all this time getting up to especially certification now, and then they leave for whatever reason. So this recommendation is talking about working together and having the department come up with a good comprehensive retention plan. Look around what other departments are doing. There's some movements across the province about ways of helping to retain firefighters, volunteer firefighters, or paid on call, whatever you want to call them. So that's what this recommendation is talking about. Recruitment is still very important, but got to almost switch like it's. We used to talk a lot about let's get people in, and we never looked a lot about how do we keep them. How do they stay here and, to stay within the department and become good officers and district chiefs and maybe future deputies and chiefs for your municipality? The next one talks about health and safety. There's a number of recommendations in health and safety. It talks about the Joint Health and Safety Committee in terms of reference and, again, some administrative stuff. But these two are just talking kind of about the cancer prevention. So I think, everybody's aware of the presumptive legislation and the cancers that firefighters are exposed to. So there's a couple of good tools out there that the Occupational Health and Safety Section 21 Committee through the Ministry of Labor have. One is the Cancer Prevention Checklist. So it's a checklist that they can use to go through their service, go through the stations to see and check boxes of where they're meeting the cancer prevention or where they could do stuff they could do to prevent cancers. And a lot of it has to do with protective gear, you know, how to, after a fire, what happens to that gear? Does it get washed? Does it go back on the truck? Do they put it in a bag and bring it back? So that has all to do with this cancer prevention checklist. The next recommendation is to talking about reducing the exposure to diesel exhaust. And years ago, it was you had to put in these fancy, expensive Niederman systems, they were called. That was the name brand. That's not and it hooked up to the truck, and when the truck drove out, they come off. The Section 21 guidance notes don't say you have to do that. There's other good ways. There's policies you can put in place that the doors stay up for so long after the truck is run, or you close the door so long after you've backed the truck in. There's a new inexpensive air exchange system that can go into stations. You know, there's ways that you can prevent or reduce or mitigate the exposure to diesel exhaust for the firefighters and their protective gear. So some places are putting in bunker gear rooms so that, you know, the gear can be kind of off the apparatus floor. Others are putting in these kind of air exchange systems. So it's something that we should look at, or you should look at as a department and as a council. And if you follow that guidance note 3.1, it gives you lots of good examples that you don't have to go to the big expensive system to put the catchment system on the fire trucks. So prevention and public education, you know, as we talked about those 3 lines of defense, and I'd like to, I think the province and a lot of municipalities have started finally switching that trend of thinking that fire suppression was kind of the most important way to manage life safety, but it's also the most expensive way too, and it's uncontrollable. When the trucks go out the door to a fire, you don't know how long they're going to be. You're putting your firefighters at risk. You're putting the residents at risk. So prevention and public education, those other 2 lines, that code enforcement lines, are equally, if not more important. If you can prevent the fire from starting before the fire happens, it's more cost effective, it's safer for your residents, it's safer for your firefighters. So one of the recommendations we're saying is over the next 5 to 10 years, is the department and council should look at potential ways to add more staff time or more staff to support the expanded fire prevention initiatives. So how do you do better? Do you do more inspections? Do you pass a bylaw that provides inspections of certain types of occupancies every year? Do you do more? And they're doing a lot of the smoke alarm and CO alarm checks. Do you do more of that? Do you provide, you know, farm safety? So, you know, maybe not for a today thing, but certainly as you move forward, when you start looking at providing cost effective, that's one way to be more cost effective, is to add staff time. Yes, there's a cost to it, but it's a fixed cost rather than having that fire truck go down the road. Next slide, thanks. So the next one's on the structure of the department. So we looked at the structure of the department, we looked at the workload of everybody, we looked at kind of the legislative requirements, how things are going to expand in the future. And one of the things that we believe that council should entertain in the future, move towards, is go back to, or go to a full-time chief's position and split the current public works manager and fire chief. And that's not to say that the chief isn't doing a good job, because he's doing a remarkable job, but it's something to consider in the future. Because as you get more things put on the fire department's plate, like we've seen in the last 8 to 10 years, as certification comes along, those administrative, you know, the recommendations that we put in today, a lot of them are administrative. That extra half of an FTE can help take over some of that administrative time, right? So it's something that you need to consider kind of in the future, is having that position split and go back to a fire chief and a manager of public works, or whatever your titles would be. Fire station related facilities. So the stations are good. The only one that should be replaced is the Archer station, and it's probably not anything new for council to hear that, but we did a good assessment at all the stations. We looked at functionality of all the stations. We looked at kind of their lifespans, and Yarker's the one that probably should be one of your main considerations coming up in the next 10 years, is to getting that station replaced. There's a lot of reasons: the size, you know, the size of the building, the location, the footprint. You know, having a little larger footprint might help. And you got to remember that when you build a new fire station, you're not building it just for today, you're building it for that 50 to 75 years, the same way as your current stations have lasted. So the other thing in stations, there was a recommendation there too that talked about maintenance. So as we all know, stations are very expensive. Any municipal building is expensive to build these days. So ensuring that council supports the budget of maintaining the stations, doing a little bit every year. If you think about your house, you paint a little bit every year. You change a window here or there. You think about you're going to change a furnace in 3 or 4 years. So continue supporting that budget to maintain your buildings so they last the full lifespan. You get the full life cycle out of the building. Because nowadays, to change them or to build new buildings, that's a lot of money, you know, a lot of taxpayers' dollars or grants or infrastructure money or whatever the case might be. So that's it. Thanks. So I know that's just brief, some of the highlights, Mr. Mayor, and certainly we'll take any council questions or your questions of yourself. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Terry. Any questions or comments, council? Yes, Deputy Mayor Davison.
Yeah. Terry, thank you very much. It was quite a document to read. I didn't get through the whole 225 pages, but I did get a good swat of it done, okay? Maybe I'm taking it reading it a little different, but the one thing that stood out to me when I read through all of the recommendations as far as I got, was the recurring theme that we needed training. Not that we're in bad shape now, but training for what's coming at us in the future. So I just wondered why we didn't recommend a training officer.
To you, Mr. Mayor. So when we talk about the cost effectiveness and you know, understanding the municipality, so you'll see there is a recommendation there that talks about monitoring, and as it goes forward, you may have to put more training support into the training program. When we looked at that, we believe that adding a prevention officer is kind of, I'm careful, I'm saying a higher priority, if you will, because your training is doing good. You know, the chief and the deputy are doing a great job with the station chiefs and the departments, but we think that supporting the prevention program is going to be a higher priority than probably a training person at this time. Now, if you add that position, that also takes some workload off the chief and a workload off the deputy, right? And if you look at the total picture, it takes some of their workload off that they can now spend, you know, more time on training or more. So we believe with the shift in the province and the shift in providing prevention, that's where kind of your resources should go. It'd be great for me to stand up here and say to you, you know, you should have 2 more deputies and 2 training officers and a fireman, but that's not realistic, right? So that's probably our reasoning, Deputy Mayor.
Councillor Fenwick.
Yeah, I want to echo Deputy Mayor Davidson's words. Definitely, it's interesting to see the kind of health and safety training that we're missing, and I'm not sure if anybody else is aware, but the retention is, you hit it right on the head. You can recruit all you want, but if they don't stay, it's an empty effort. And retention is a difficult process. People sometimes aren't willing to inform you as to why they've left, and then you're just left with an empty desk. Now, or in this case, empty gear. I had an opportunity, which was wonderful, to attend an awards ceremony to the Legion in Tamworth. And when I was there, I saw such pride in partnership and camaraderie, receiving these pins. And I was just so happy to be there. And I remember thinking to myself, why don't I do this more often? And I was informed we only do it about once every 5 years, and sometimes not even that. And some of our people don't even get to their first pin, or they leave between pins. And it's really unfortunate. I'm really glad you recognize that, because I think that's extremely important. They need to be recognized as being part of a team, part of a club. And if they grow roots within that organization, within that group, it makes it very difficult for them to leave. And we don't want them to leave, as you said. What is the ratio? I used to recall that it was 6 to 1 was the number I always thought of retaining someone versus recruiting, training, and gearing someone. Is that still a fairly accurate number?
Yeah, at one time we used to say 10% per year left your department, so pretty close to that. I might challenge it's a little bit higher, but I haven't done the numbers on it, but I might think it's a little bit higher even than what it used to be. So, and I think, sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor, apologize. I think you're right on about those awards, appreciation nights. Any way you can recognize your volunteer firefighters for what they do in the community, and that's no slight of the other volunteer organizations that work in your community. But if you get them to stay, they stay as a resident as well too, right? They participate in the baseball, they participate in soccer, they get involved in other community things because they're community minded. So it's really an investment for the municipality, is to try to, and yes, there's a cost to it, but if you look at it as an investment, there's a bigger cost of recruiting 10 or 12 or 14 people every year, have them stay a couple of years, and I don't, gears up, what, $5,000 or $6,000, $7,000 to outfit somebody now. So I think you're right. I think those type of awards nights are really, really important. Any chance you can recognize the volunteers, that's important.
Thanks, Terry. Anyone else? Okay. Can I get a mover and a seconder to receive the report? Councillor Woodcock, Councillor Milligan, all in favor? That's carried. Thanks very much, Terry. Thanks for all the work you've done for us.
Yeah. Thank you for having us.
We have no deputations this evening, so we'll move to items for consideration. And further to the report we just had, we've got a report from Council. And the recommendation is that Council receive the Stone Mills Fire Master Plan review as prepared by the Lumex Group for information, and that staff be directed to review the recommendations contained in it and report back to Council with prioritized implementation plan that identifies recommendations that could be advanced immediately within the current approved budget or at no cost, address mandatory legislative compliance obligations and associated timelines, and outlines budget considerations for incorporation into the 2027 municipal budget process and future multi-year capital and operating plans. Can I get that on the floor with a motion, please? Deputy Mayor Davison and Councillor Milligan. Jeff Thompson, Manager of Public Works. This is your report.
Thank you, Mayor Wise. First of all, I'd just like to say thanks to the Lumex Group. It was a few months of work and back and forth, and it's going to be a good document going forward for any strategic planning. So, with the report, it's just laying the framework coming forward.
Hang on a sec, Jeff. We'll get you a better mic.
Does that sound better?
So far, so good.
This report is just laying the framework for what's coming in the future recommendations, considering 2027 budget and later this year in 2026. But I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Jeff on this report? Councillor Fenwick.
Yeah, Jeff, I looked at your report here, and by the way, thanks for reviewing it. It's a lot for me in particular. And I'm not a firefighter. I never have been, and I don't pretend to be. So it's nice to have both back and forth. I find it very interesting. It looks like a lot of the recommendations are mostly health and safety related, and that's great. That's something we always need to focus on. Interestingly enough, I wanted to make this point. When it comes to our unconventional title and mixed bag when it comes to a public works manager and fire chief both, in the almost 4 years that I've been on council, I have yet to have anybody bring up a concern about that. And I speak to a lot of firefighters, and they all speak very highly of our setup and of you personally. So I want to thank you for all your efforts. I know it can't be easy to carry both hats. I know you've got a ton of help over here, and then it's a joint effort, a team effort. But if it isn't broke, don't fix it, in my opinion. And I've got a lot of people say a lot of things to me about township entities and so on. I've never had an issue with that, and I must say that's something. So thank you to all of our firefighters, both our deputy and our fire chief, for putting that together. It's a very difficult road to go on. So thank you for that. And that's about it, but I really wanted to say that because I can't even think of one that I've ever had, so.
Thank you, Councillor Fenwick. Anyone else? Okay, thank you, Jeff. We've got a motion on the floor. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And don't stand down, Jeff, because we have 8.2, purchase of used truck scales for Centreville Quarry. Recommendation is that council authorizes the purchase of used truck scales for installation at the Centreville Quarry at a total cost not to exceed $20,352 plus HST, funded from Roads Capital Reserve, with site preparation costs of approximately $2,500 to be funded from the Public Works operating budget. Night, Terry. Can I get a motion to put that on the floor, please? Councillor Woodcock, Councillor McDonald. Go ahead, Jeff.
Thank you, Mayor Wise. I know this was last moment after budget was already passed, but the contractor actually came to the municipality with a desire to sell the scales at the Cranes Quarry that's on Ballahack Road, so it's within our municipality. So it's close for us to move, and I thought the price was reasonable, so that's why I wanted to bring it to council.
Thanks, Jeff. Questions or comments? This will be interesting, I guess, to find out how close your volume estimates are to actual weight estimates. I'm kind of looking forward to that. I'm sort of a stats nerd, and that
I think our treasurer is looking forward to it more than you.
I'm sure that's true. That's great. Okay, no questions or comments? All in favor? That's carried. When are you going to get that going, Jeff?
Probably this week.
Oh, good.
If we have time to talk to the contractor and start making the prep anyway.
Yeah, great. Thanks very much. That's all the items on the agenda, except for the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to pull anything from the consent agenda? Councillor Fenwick?
I'd like to speak to 9.3.
9.3. Councillor Milligan?
9.6, 9.7, and 9.24.
4. Deputy Mayor Davison?
It's already covered.
Okay. All right. Let's start. We might as well start with 9.3. Rob, go ahead.
Pretty straightforward. I'd just like to welcome Andrea to our team. Where is Andrea? Is she here today? No, I didn't think so. I thought all the faces were familiar, but yeah, it's great when we get new folks. And finding good talent is difficult. So when we find somebody, I like to say thank you and welcome.
And I'm sure council and I certainly echo your welcome. I haven't met Andrea yet, but I look forward to, and I think we were fortunate to kind of catch someone on first bounce. And Sherry, oh, sorry, Brandy. Oh, we need to receive and support, yeah. You want to make that a motion then, Rob? Absolutely. Okay.
A motion to say welcome to the team.
Okay, a seconder for that, please. Deputy Mayor Davison, all in favor? That's carried, thanks. Okay, Sherry, 9.6, I think you had.
I just wanted to, I guess, receive and support the resolution about the school board trustees and all this business that's going on with their downsizing trustees and things. Now, I think something just happened this afternoon that might have solidified something. I didn't catch it all, but I just think it's another attack on democracy if they're going to take trustees away, and they're the bridge between the school and the family and everything else. It's just a shame, and I think any way we can support that, we should try to do that.
Okay, your motion is to receive and support.
9.7 is basically the same, I think.
Okay, can we do both of those, Brandy? Is there a seconder for that, Councillor Woodcock? Any discussion? I think what happened this afternoon, oh, sorry, go ahead, Chris Lee.
I was just going to add, I was going to pull those ones too. Yeah, it is a loss of that local oversight, local voice, and we are seeing, again, it is an attack on our democratic institutions for that local representation. And as a rural place, we know so often these policies are written in cities. And when we lose that rural voice, local voice, that is a loss to us all, especially when it comes around things like special education and kids that need additional supports. We're really losing a voice for those parents and those families. So just wanted to echo that. And then you can go into, yeah, what happened. I'm a little bit aware, but not fully, so.
Well, I just saw the headline late this afternoon. Any board with 12 or fewer trustees will maintain that level of representation. I'm not sure what happens with larger boards, if they have to cut back to 12 or if there's some formula. So that at least, I think, I'm not sure how many Limestone Board has, how many trustees. I think they will, I think they'll be okay, yeah. But the other thing was, their powers have been greatly reduced. They'll basically be taken out of the negotiation process with the unions. I'm not sure what's left for them to do other than be the rep for parents, which is not a trivial thing. But in terms of actual administrative function, I'm not sure what they're going to do. I guess we'll find out. Yes, go ahead, Crystal.
Just to add on that, part of me feels like you want to like defang their ability to do something and then say they're not needed at all, you know, sort of like stepping stone down, so.
That's a common tactic. Okay, anything further? Councillor Land.
I'm not sure if this is where it belongs, but we were talking about school board trustees, so maybe. Years ago, going back maybe 10 years ago, once a year we would meet with the school board. Council would meet, we'd join in a big collaborative meeting, have any issues that we wanted to present, and they could discuss with us. And it was right around the time when they were preparing to close Yarker Family School. And so there was a lot of discussion at that meeting and subsequent meetings in the public. But we haven't met with them since then. So that's 10 years. And I'm just wondering, I mean, there's a question here about the value of the school board trustees. Should we not be reaching out and reinforcing our relationship with them to make their voice feel stronger in this current situation?
That would be entirely up to council. So if you want to, we have a motion on the floor, but once we deal with that and the other item that's been pulled, if you want to give us a notice of motion or something to that effect, whatever Brandy suggests, then we can look at that. Okay. So have I got a mover and seconder on 9.6 and 9.7? Okay. All in favor? That's carried. And you've got 9.2.4, I think, as well, Sherry.
Yes, 924 was just about the Ontario Senior of the Year nominations.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a shame, I guess. It looks like they didn't get it out to us very quickly, and I'm wondering if there's a way, because the deadline for nominations is Wednesday. And from what I gather, I think people would submit nominations to us or a committee of some kind, and then we would choose this senior, but there's no time to do that. So I wondered if somehow for next year's, council and next year's calendar, if we could put it on sooner so we look out for it. Because without volunteers, let's face it, our community would be in a bad way.
Yes, I agree. So that's just a heads up. You don't need a motion, really. Just to receive. Okay. Sherry, you move to receive. Can I get a seconder for that, please? Councillor Woodcock, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And that covers all the extracted items. Can I get a motion to receive the rest of the consent agenda, please? Councillor Milligan, Councillor Lalande, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Which brings us to notice of motion and direct motion. Wenda, did you want to make some sort of notice of motion about supporting the school board?
Yes, I don't think it's a direct motion issue, but notice of motion, I would like to make. Brandy, I'm going to need your help in how it should be worded. That next meeting, I will be coming forward with a motion for council to look at reestablishing a relationship or an annual meeting at the very least with the Limestone District School Board.
Good. Okay. Thank you, Wenda.
Yep.
Any direct motion? Councillor Woodcock.
So I have a direct motion. It's on the changes to the Freedom of Information request process. So just to kind of give some preamble to explain where we're at in this situation. In order to have a healthy democracy, we need to have transparency and accountability, and we know that trust in our democratic institutions is already under strain. The province is now looking to remove the ability for the public to use freedom of information requests to look into how decisions are made, who is influencing them, and if they're in the public interest, essentially shielding the Premier's office, the ministers, and political staffers from freedom of information requests. And this is not a minor change. It is a serious step away from transparency at a time when we need to improve trust, not weaken it. And they want this change to apply retroactively, which could essentially wipe out hundreds of freedom of information requests already in the process. Ontario's Information and Privacy Commissioner, Patricia Kasim, has warned that this would, quote, eviscerate public accountability. And with that in mind, this is the motion. Whereas the Government of Ontario is proposing changes to the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, FIPA, that would exclude records of the Premier, Cabinet Ministers, and their staff from public access requests, and whereas these changes would apply retroactively and may limit access to records related to matters of public interest, and whereas the Information and Privacy Commissioner of Ontario has warned that these changes would reduce transparency and accountability, freedom of information laws are essential to the public trust and democratic accountability. Therefore, be it resolved that Stone Mills Township oppose the proposed changes to FIPA. 1, call on the province to ensure that records related to government business remain accessible to the public. 2, urge the province to consult with the Information and Privacy Commissioner of Ontario and the public before proceeding. And 3, direct that this motion be circulated to the Premier Doug Ford, the appropriate minister, all MPPs, and Ontario municipalities.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Milligan. Brandy, if you would, what are the circumstances under which we need a direct motion? Is it a matter of urgency, and would this constitute a matter of urgency, or how do we approach this?
Thank you, Mayor Wise. Under the procedure bylaw, it is for matters of urgent nature, it has to be supported by 2/3 of council. I'm not sure where in the process this legislation change is happening and where it stands. So if council deems it an urgent matter and there's 2/3 support, then it can be passed tonight.
Councillor Woodcock, is this legislation imminent?
I know that they were just going to be resumed discussions on implementing it when the legislature resumed on March 23rd. I was trying to find a date, but I was not able to find a date or a timeline. And so I thought, given the kind of weight of the matter, that it was important to voice opposition now, as opposed to down the road, in which, it may be too late. Because sometimes we find ourselves coming to something and it's like a decision's already been made. And I think it's important to build public pressure to prevent these changes before it's too late.
Thank you. Any discussion? So I happen to agree with you that it's an urgent matter. I don't know if it's super time sensitive, but we don't know. So I'm certainly not going to throw a stick in your spokes here. And it appears that there is some consensus, so I will call a question. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Announcements. Anyone have any announcements? We've got upcoming meeting dates here on the agenda. The next council meeting is April 27th. Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing has a candidate information session for people who are looking to run in the next municipal election. That's May 7th here at 6 in the evening. Our next regular council meeting after that is May 11th. LA County Council is this Wednesday evening at 6:30. And next regular council meeting in May is May 25th. That brings us up to date. And we have a closed meeting under Section 239 of the Municipal Act. This is regarding advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for those purposes. So I will entertain a motion to go into closed session. Councillor Milligan, and Deputy Mayor Davidson. All in favor? That's carried. And we'll take a short break before we resume to allow staff who are not involved in the closed meeting to go home. back from our closed session. And I'm just getting my regular agenda back up on my computer. So, Rising report would be,
Through you, Mayor Wise, that council, oops, my apologies. That council provided direction to staff.
okay, can I get a mover for that? Councillor Milligan, Councillor Woodcock seconds, all in favor? That's carried. And you just need a confirmation of proceeding bylaw. Can I get that from someone, please? Councillor Lalande, Councillor McDonald, all in favor? Motion to adjourn. Councillor Fenwick, Councillor McDonald, all in favor? That's carried. Thanks, everybody.